Welcome back, house guests, and welcome to House of Chatter. Come on in and let me pour you some tea and let's chatter about it. So, this episode or this lesson that we're learning from Amber Heard on Lively's side, well, today we're focusing on social media. Tomorrow it's going to be Perez versus Lively's team against that subpoena. So this is quite interesting, and I think I know why Lively is so focused on Perez Hilton. Not only is she focused on Perez Hilton, she's also pretty focused on Brian Friedman. And there's a good reason, because she learned from Amber Heard. So, in the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial, there were numerous witnesses. And the ones that I focused on were the consultants on Amber's side and Johnny's side as far as future opportunities, losing jobs, how much were they worth, how much were they going to be worth if they continued their trajectory, yada, yada, yada. That I was expecting. I was expecting to hear the rumors and how things are done behind the scenes and how all of it kind of just seems like a handshake, wink conversation. Hey, we agreed upon this last Tuesday, whatever. I mean, nothing was really on paper when you heard these experts testify. So, for example, the expert for Johnny Depp, who was the Hollywood insider, decades of experience in Hollywood, and he was just telling the jury how it kind of works and how, rumors can easily take you down. So in Johnny Depp case, he wasn't a perfect angel. It's Johnny Depp. There was chatter about his drug and alcohol abuse. But there was also chatter saying that he's really, really nice. Studios, will put up with that. Of course, if you have the budget. Lively didn't have the budget to stay in a trailer all day long. I think that's a distinct difference too. But anyways, what the expert had mentioned about Johnny Depp is that Hollywood will put up with a star with a drug and alcohol problem, but they will not put up with sexual abuse or domestic violence. It's like a hard red line, a hard unspoken red line, which is why they had not amnesty clauses. There goes my fibromyalgia and my slow brain. No, they had morality clauses, right? Because they didn't want their actors misbehaving on set and tanking everything and then having to shelve it for years. Like Kevin Spacey, they brought up Kevin Spacey. He was accused of doing some pretty bad things. He made a production with Netflix and it was never released. Why? Because Netflix doesn't want to be associated with that. And why would you want to be? Like we saw with Blake Lively and Target, maybe the bad rubbed off on bad and now it's just bad, right? So Johnny Depp's witness brought up some good points. However, like I said, it's not in writing and it's not in black and white. So when Blake Lively was asked during her deposition, is there a post, an article, anything that you can point to in writing that is defamatory? But Lively said it was a feeling, right? I guess you could feel like that if you look at social media and you have PR people all around you and whatever, your sales were doing good and now they're doing horrible. I guess you can be confused about that. You can get caught up with the rumors. I have to look back to see if Betty Booze or Betty Buzz was a mocktail and was she really throwing an alcohol party or was she throwing a mocktail party? Maybe there's something we missed there. Not that I am not Team Blake, And I'm not going to say I'm team the truth because someone has already coined that phrase. But maybe it seems like we've missed something, or she's missed something. Like, there's something odd about this picture. Like, maybe someone put a bug in Lively's ear and she went with it. Kind of like Amber Heard believing that Johnny Depp was responsible for her getting kicked off Aquaman. Now, directors, producers, they all say it was a studio decision. She didn't have any chemistry. I didn't see Aquaman. I don't know what it's like working with Jason Momoa. I didn't even know who she was. I still think of Amber Heard as the wife of Johnny Depp, or the ex-wife. My oldest son knows her by some alleged bedroom incident. And that's what she's known for, sadly. Probably why she was chased out of Hollywood and having to go overseas. I don't think that's going to happen to Blake. But there's obviously some mistakes Blake has done too. But back to the social media. So maybe Blake saw that Amber Heard was able to address the social media chatter. So the social media chatter was, there's millions and millions and millions and millions of posts on Amber Heard. Of course, referring her to a common nickname, Amber Turd, that was also brought up in court. So, in the trial of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, it turns out Johnny Depp's lawyer had made some statements. In fact, I guess he made 3 statements, and they sounded like they went viral on social media for a variety of reasons. Amber Heard survived 1 defamation trial in the UK, but that was in the UK. But she couldn't really survive this next one, especially with Johnny Depp describing what happened, unfortunately for her. But she was able to bring up social media, and she brought up the fact that someone had researched or looked over 1 million posts and was able to determine that they were not bots. I'm not sure how they were able to determine that. And I'm pretty sure that's what Lively was trying to determine, whether the real people were bots, and she subpoenaed them and they spoke and she realized that they're human beings. So, Amber Heard's theory about bot farms and everything like that failed for Lively, but Lively learned it, and she keeps trying to do it. If she can get Perez Hilton to New York, I believe what she's going to do, or what she could do, is bring up the fact that others have prosecuted, or at least examined, the social media chatter in relation to her reputation and damages, right? So that's why she's trying to get everything back to Lyman in New York. That's why she's fighting Perez Hilton so bad, because maybe Perez Hilton said 1 or 2 statements and then it got picked up at like wildfire, like it was described in Amber Heard's trial. Certainly, I'm going to laugh, blackface Betty and Plantation Princess, Lying Lively, especially the Live and Lively, which is pretty much in line with what Johnny Depp's lawyer was saying publicly about Amber Heard. In fact, the lawyer said these statements publicly, Amber Heard took them and claimed defamation. So that's why I think Lively's going after the attorney too, because Amber went after the attorney specifically for those statements, because they're a hot topic on social media. So they examined the posts, microscope of them they thought were one person. But if you hear the testimony, they said Walden or a derivative of that. So they made the automatic association that these posts were posted by one person, whether it be 6% or 25%. I'm so very confused about that. But it seemed like it was a small, minuscule amount of posts, might be tied to the lawyer, but then exploded like wildfire because everybody took them and ran with them, and that's where Lively is trying to go with the social media. I also think that if Lively were to get those subpoenas right now to the content creators, knowing that California allowed JonesWorks to go after that website, right? Be not in the face of First Amendment rights, not they acknowledged the First Amendment right in the ruling, but they also said, this is a defamation case. They do have a right to know who is, defaming them. So that's another component. And I think that's why she's trying to get everything to New York. Because if she can at least get the one person without lawyers to New York, she might be able to do the subpoenas or to do whatever. Because from what I'm hearing chatter on is there's still these subpoenas in Latin America by Lively. So if she's able to get to show that, hey, maybe in another case, they talked about the social media. They looked at the chatter. They looked at the posts. They looked at the origins. Oh, and guess what? I found another association between Blake Lively and Amber Heard. Guess what they have in common? Yes, it starts with a W. There's an M and an E. Doesn't that sound like WME has some just bad juju? Just makes me think of bad juju. Yeah, interesting, right? But also Johnny Depp is a tag client as well. Yep, Johnny Depp followed her from one place to tag. So that's pretty cool. So they know what they're doing and they know what they're up against. So I think that's a plus in the corner. But I also think that's why they're trying so much harder, because they're kind of up against a better opponent. And I think that's why they've been trying to hire lawyers that have dealt with the other lawyers in the past, right? But really, if Johnny Depp is a tag client, they've already done this before. They already know what's going to come up. And who knows, maybe they talked legal strategy with Johnny Depp. You think? Probably not. I don't think it crossed that line. But it'd be very convenient. So maybe that's why Lively is going so hard, is because she took lessons from Amber Heard, but realized she was up against the teacher, the expert, the professor, the whole big old school. So tomorrow, I really do think it's going to be social media versus Blake Lively. And social media is going to be represented by Perez Hilton, who, yes, is a journalist. I do believe he's a journalist, but they're going to try to tear him down. They're going to tear him down so that he's a content creator, so they can subpoena him, so they can say that maybe he's a John Doe. Maybe he did the same thing that Johnny Depp's team did in smearing Amber Heard. maybe because in Amber Heard's case, that lawyer was able to say statements defending his client, and rightfully so. It takes off. It hurts Amber Heard. She's able to analyze it. She's able to flip it. And she's able to use it as part of a lawsuit. So is that what Lively is trying to do? But Lively isn't going to be successful and has not been successful. Right? So it should be really interesting to see what happens tomorrow. So how did you like that tea? Please comment, subscribe, give me a follow, give me a share, give me some feedback. Am I doing everything okay? Am I looking, is there more that you need to know, that you want to know, other topics you want to explore? I'm having a lot of fun because Amber Heard's case is very, 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 very long with a lot of witnesses, but it's really quite interesting to see it looking back. So I really enjoy this. So thank you, house guests, for giving me this opportunity to listen to me ramble for a few minutes and to spill all the tea. I really hope you guys come back. All right. So that is it for me tonight. I'll be working on more tomorrow. Let me know how I'm doing. Thank you guys and have a great night. Bye, house guests.